I just had a thought that I had lipstick on my teeth. Hey YouTube, welcome back to my channel. You just saw this look. We're not going to do an intro. We're just going to jump in because I don't know how long this is going to be. But my name is Dion. This is the crazy troll nation of YouTube. Okay, we'll do the intro. The crazy is just enjoying doing videos. If you do them, and also enjoying the channels that you watch, and enjoying the channels that you watch, even if you don't do videos. Why do I feel like I'm rushing? I can just edit, right? The troll part is not caring too much about the beauty community standards. You set the standard for yourself. Let me calm down. Try not to feel like you need to use a certain brand or a certain tool or a certain technique. Use whatever it is you want to use with whatever you want to use it with to get your makeup on the way you want it to look. Beneath all of that, here at the Crazy Troll Nation, we are about self-acceptance and self-love, embracing your natural features, enhancing them if you want to, when you want to, but never feeling like you have to. That's the concept of the Crazy Troll Nation. Enjoying yourself on YouTube and just being yourself, knowing that you are the bomb, and just rocking however you want to wear your makeup. I do use foul language in my videos sometimes because I do use foul language in real life sometimes. You know why I feel rushed? I'm going to tell you why I feel rushed, because I showed the palette, and you know from the title, this is what we're talking about. And thank you again to Nomad for sending this to me. I did the unboxing because I was hella excited, and that video I think was almost 20 minutes. I think I can get it down to maybe like 10 or 12. And then I did both of these looks, and because it was one on each eye, it's not a lot to edit out. And that video was like unedited, which I didn't edit it yet, but that was almost 50 minutes. And so in my mind, I'm thinking I've already done like an hour worth of video. So that's why I feel like I'm rushing, even though this is a separate video, so that was really silly, right? I know. We're going to swatch the palette. We're going to do them on the forehead. I thought about cheek, but I got bronzer, blush, and highlighter on the top. Here is just the bronzer, and then this is just foundation. If we run out of space, we'll do some on the chin, because the chin and up here is more of my natural coloring than this bomb ass Mario cheek situation I got going on. So I'm not going to hold it upside down, but I'm also not going to blind you. We're going to start here and work this way, come down here, do this way, and come here and do this way. I'm not, well, y'all say the names, but that's how we're going. I'm not going to show you each shade before we swatch it, but this is Tower. I always have trouble saying that word. It's Tower with an ing on the end, and I always want to say towering giraffes, and that is this shade. That shade, yeah, that was the first one we put for transition over here, but then we kind of partially covered it because it was looking a little ashen, a little dusty. The one next to it is Leaping something. You know what? I'll put the shades over here. This is this shade. The second part of the name of this shade, I don't want to keep butchering it. This one is right here on the inner portion of the lid, the first half of the lid. I got a lot of fallout from this shade, and you can see a chunk hanging off like right there. And we did put it directly over primer, but this one gave me the most fallout. This is what that one looks like. This one, actually, if I could read it, I'll just tell you. And the rest of them I can read. So scratch that me putting in here, just that this one I put there. This one is Elusive Leopards. And that is what that looks like. This shade, where is this one? This one was on the second half of the lid, but then we kind of covered it up. But then we went back in with it to put under the brow bone. So this shade, as you see, it does just kind of blend in with my skin tone. Is this the right side? Yeah, this side, because this side doesn't have anything on it. So this is the side. So that's that shade. This is Roaring Lions. I don't know what's wrong with me today. You know what? Because I haven't been asleep yet. Excuse me for smacking. It's almost 3 o'clock in the afternoon. I haven't been asleep yet. And I remember telling one of my little sisters before that when I'm sleepy, my tongue gets lazy and my New York accent comes out because I just don't want to take the time to enunciate properly. And so Roaring Lions, saying roaring was difficult because I wanted to be like roaring lions, just like towering giraffes. But that's something that I learned about myself. So this is Roaring Lions, and that is really pretty. My college roommate was from New York, and she made it a point. This, you see how it's yellow and then it's orange? That is a duochrome. Look at this one. This is the one I'm talking about right here. Because you see how it has like a yellow, you know, that looks like a flame. Because it just goes in and out. And I noticed it when I put it on. Did I use this one today? Yes, I topped the second half of the lid over here with this today. And I didn't notice that as you swipe it, you see that? But then once you're done with it, or maybe it's how the light hits it. Because even if I just press down, you see that shift. I like that. Okay, so that's that sponge applicator done. This is Pack of Wild Dogs, and it has paw prints in it. This one, where did I put this? I put this somewhere. This is on my outer lid over here. So that deep color right here, that's this one. I'm glad I decided while I was sitting here to go ahead and do this, so then I can kind of tell you if I have it on. But again, we have a matte shade on the lid, then we topped it. This is on the lid, then we topped it with this, and then this is on the outer corner. And actually, we put this on the outer corner before we topped it with this shade. So this is how it looks when you blend it out. But you can, it can be rich. You got a layer, but it can be rich if you pack it. You can get some depth, more depth from it. Minus this first shade, if you take this one out, this is a nice little quad right here. I'm liking that. And you see how this, some people don't understand what I mean when I say ashy. So that's why I'll say ashy or dusty. But how it has like a gray tint to it. Like if you have cigarette ash and you smear your fingers in it, that grayish hue, that's what ashy means to me. And so that, you know, if you take this out, this is a nice little quad. So let's keep moving. This is Moremi Game Reserve. That's this. And so now we're going to go this way. So you have like a row of greenish tones, which would be a nice look, I think. This has the Nomad symbol in it, which I am just smearing all around the sponge applicator. So that is this shade. I think this will be a nice transition shade for me. And I'm thinking of greens that I have in Mission Triple X. What else? I want to say the Moolah Bank, but I'm not sure. I do think there's a shade similar to this in Moolah Bank. Similar, but not quite to the one in Mission Triple X. This is Keystone Termites, and it does have a termite trail. And so I'm destroying the termite trail. When I had my house in Dover, Delaware, we did have an infestation with termites. You know what happened? And I remember what the guy said. So thank you for this flashback. It was cold. It was like winter. And for 2 days, it was like really, really warm. And then it got super cold again. And so, ooh. And so the dude that came out to do the service, he said because they thought summer was coming or spring was coming because it was really, I mean, it was like hot for like 2 days. And then it got cold all over again. And because I had walked in from the garage, and then there was like, you know, where the washer and dryer room is, whatever they call it. Some people call it a mud room. And then there's another door you go into the house part. I had walked in one day. It looked like snow flurries or snowflakes on the floor. And I'm like, what the hell is this? It was termites, and they were all dead. And the guy had said, because they thought it was spring or summer, they came out, and then when it got cold again, they died. So that was a good thing. So it wasn't an ongoing infestation, but he still went down in the crawl space, sprayed everywhere, sprayed in the mud room, and, you know, everywhere else, just in case there were a few that were still down there that didn't come up. But yeah, so I destroyed the termite trail. So I'm just going to press on this to see if the shift pops out like this one. And I don't think so, because I'm doing this is not changing, where this one, it changed from like a yellow to an orange. So no, this one is not a duochrome, but that's a really pretty shade. But then depending on how the color hits it, the light hits it, that's this shade right here. So looking this way, it looks gray to me. And this way, it's like a bright lime green. That's what my eye sees. But either way, it's pretty. But this one is definitely, I believe, a dual chrome. And I think it says somewhere on the packaging, I'll put over here if it says there is like a dual chrome in this palette or not. Because that to me definitely looks like one. Or maybe it's just how the shadow looks. Because this one is looking like it's turning two. But when I push down on it, it doesn't. Whereas when I push down on this one, that is a different shade. But let me just keep going. Vombora Plains. And I'm destroying the Nomad symbol because I am swirling with my sponge tip. And then tapping because it is creating some kick up in the pan. I guess I'm being maybe a little too rough with it. So this is that shade. And this also reminds me of something from Mission Triple X because there's quite a bit of greens in that one. Based on the alien theme movies, and the alien blood was green. No, it was a predator blood that was green. Yeah, the alien blood was the slimy stuff. And I'm like, why does everybody always touch it? It's like, just gross. This is now Crocodile, this shade right here. So I'm curious to see what it's going to look like. And I do think it might just look gold. And so I am still swirling. All of these I'm swirling. And so I'm destroying the now Crocodile pattern. And that is what that looks like. That is pretty. That is pretty. I'm still looking how this one is looking gray and then like a lime green, but it depends on how the light hits it. Oh, wow, that is beautiful. The last one in this row, Chief's Island. This is a matte green. And so if you're into monochromatic looks, you know what, I have a feeling a lot of people are going to do monochromatic looks with this palette because it seems like a lot of people do monochromatic looks anyway. And so watch, somebody's going to do like this, like these four, because that could be monochromatic, but this is pretty. These four right here, and then these four, somebody's going to do like a green look. Watch, 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 watch. You might have already seen them, so let me calm down. All right, we're down to the bottom row over here, and we're going to come this way. This one is Crash of Rhinos. I have this one on, actually, Chief's Island is lower lash line here, but it's over a golden olive or an olive green liner. I always get it mixed up as if I don't use that liner quite a bit. So that's this one, and I'm thinking I have this one on. Crash of Rhinos. That was on the first half of the lid over here, but then I topped it with one of the shimmer shades. And the shimmer shade seemed to be the same shade as the matte shade, just shiny. And the same with the color I put on the second half of the lid. So that was a little disappointing, but we're going to see what they look like by themselves. This is Migrating Zebras, this shade here. I'm curious to see what this, curious to see what this one looks like. And I did just ruin the swirl. So this is this one. Okay, let's do some more swirling. Get a line here. I think I'm gonna have to go down to my chin because I'm running out of forehead space. So blue, grayish. Trying to figure out what it looks like. Yeah, like a bluish gray to my eye. And I say that because I perceive color different than it seems most people. Rumbling Elephants. I do have this on outer lid over here. So this shade right here, it went on deep. Ooh, but it blended out very nicely. And I dragged that over into the crease. And that's what saved this shade. Is that the one? Yeah, from looking ashy. So Rumbling Elephants. And we're going to put that here. This is nice. This will be a nice deepening shade. And it blends out very well. Because when I first tapped it, I was like, okay, wait a minute. And then when I blended it, I was like, yeah. And then I packed on more inside, not out here, because I wanted to maintain the blend. And so I just packed a little more right there. So I really dig that shade. This one is Mighty Buffaloes. I mentioned in the unboxing video, the metallics in here are similar. Y'all know what I'm trying to say. As similar to the shimmers in America's Parks. So they're textured but they're not chunky. That's a nice shade too. That's pretty. Oh, I'm just like, okay, let me get a grip here. The last one here is Honking Hippos. That's on lower lash line over here. That's this one. And it came with a little chip in it, and there's a line here. And I forgot to ask, so I'm going to just press it in. I forgot to ask for extra padding, because that was an issue before with a couple palettes, because sometimes they just cram stuff in my mailbox and it ruined a shadow here and there. And so thankfully it was just a little chip in that one corner in the line, and right now I'm pressing to fill in where the chip was, which was right here, and I'm like pressing over the line, and it seems to be working. That's that shade. That is nice. So these are swatches. Some of a few of the matte shades, I'm not going to say they're powdery because I was swirling quite roughly to get the shadow on the sponge tip so I can press roughly and get it onto my skin. But there's not any kick up. There was a few flakes, particularly this shadow and some in this one. But the rest of the mattes didn't do that. And so I'm thinking it's just the way I was digging in it to get the swatches. So these, I hope this is helpful to you. I'm looking at this, I still think, okay, minus this one, these four would be an awesome look if you like monochromatic. Definitely these greens, and I know this one kind of disappears, but these greens right here, that would be a nice monochromatic look. And I wish I could have gotten these over here. But these three are a nice look. And if you want to deepen, put this there. So just to give you some ideas, I'm doing this looking at this shade here, because I was trying to think of how this would fit in like with these three, because these two and these three are the bottom row. The greens are the middle row, and from this shade here is the top row. So you could work it, you know, doing rows, or even if you layered. And y'all know I am going to be doing some experiments. So this is what the palette looks like. I'm looking at the greens, and I'm wondering if they're similar, and even this shade here, and this one, to America's Parks, which I no longer have because it did turn a little bit after a year. And I think I did a video using the Nomad palettes that were technically expired to see if they had turned, and it had turned. What oil is in this palette? Because I moved the box. I'll put over here what oil is in their palette, because most of their palettes do have an oil in it, and my thought is that it's the oil that turns, because oils do go bad. That's my theory. I haven't tested it, I don't know, but I no longer have America's Parks for that. And Berlin Underground turned horribly because I used it way after a year and my lids were like, troll, take it off. But these greens and this shade and this one, and kind of this one too, a lighter version of this one, remind me of America's Parks colors. Definitely the greens. And I'm looking at it to see, do I have anything else similar within my Nomad palettes? And I'll say maybe, excuse me for smacking, maybe Hudson Valley, similar to those. If you want to see experiments with the Nomad palettes I have left, I have Monteverde, Cloud Forest, Monteverde, Cloud Forest. I have Haunted Europe, Hudson Valley, Whistler, and Iceland. And so if you want to see comparison swatches or comparison looks, let me know down below. But I'm really just taking my time here because I'm just trying to see, do I have any Nomad similarities within my small Nomad collection? And I'm also thinking, do I have these in other palettes? Because when you're looking at, excuse me, you see a palette and it's like, oh my gosh, I gotta have it. But when you really slow down and look at it, this cheek situation is bomb. I'm just saying. Try to slow yourself down and think about, do I have similar shades? If you are going to do a monochromatic green look, do you have other palettes that you can do a monochromatic green look with? Or, you know, this type of look, these 4 shades right here. So try to think of things that way. This would be a nice two-tone look. Put this on the lid, use this as a liner. So that could be easy. And the same with these 2 right here. Because from right here, they look the same. Except one is shimmer and one is not. So that could be an easy look as well. Or put this all the way on the lid, blend out into your transition, and just layer this on the lower part of your lid. Because then you already have your blend and your transition from this one. And that could be an option for these 2 as well. Or use this shade to blend. This might be a nice blend shade for these 2. So I'm just looking at it, just trying to figure things out. So I do hope this is helpful. I do hope it's giving you something to think about. And again, this is what they all look like. So top row, here to here, middle row, this shade to this shade, this row, these 3, and then these 2. So this is the new Nomad palette. Let me know if this was helpful. Let me know if you're considering getting it. It's not limited edition. You don't have to rush out. They will have it at least for a year, and I'll even say at least for a year and a half. So there is no rush. I do have a non-affiliated code, which is Dion. There's other people who have non-affiliated codes. There are people who have affiliated codes. And so just use somebody's code to save yourself 10% off of your Nomad purchase. So not just this palette if you feel like, oh, I need to have it right now, but whatever else you order from Nomad. Just make sure you're using somebody's code. And I can hear W87 now saying, we use code Dion in this household. Because it's not concrete unless you clap. That's a POC thing. In this household. She cracks me up, as you could tell. So anyway, that'll be it for this video. Thank you for being here. Thank you for watching. Do let me know if this was helpful. Do let me know what your thoughts are on this palette. Let me know what you think about the groupings, how they kind of laid it out for you, the looks you can do by rows, or if you want to be funky and do columns, you can do that too. And if you have any color combinations you would like me to try, let me know and I'll put on my lab coat and we will do that. Thank you for being here. I appreciate you. As always, self-acceptance, self-love. That is the Crazy Troll Nation way. I just had a thought that I had lipstick on my teeth. Thankfully I don't. That is that is the Crazy Troll Nation way. Thank you, and you will see me in the next video. Hey YouTube, this is Candy Cane Chapstick. I picked this up at random. I am exhausted. I could not sleep. I don't know what's going on. I only had 1 hour sleep. But yes, this is turning into a resort to a sleep aid type situation. The only thing on so far are my brows. They're in different countries. And I did just prime my lids with the Fenty brow pencil. You saw me put on the chapstick. The only shades we have not used in this palette are Now Crocodiles, Zambora Plains, Moremi Game Forest, and Migrating Zebras. And so we're just going to use those 4 shadows and we're going to see what happens. And so now Crocodile, we're taking a small dense shader brush. That's that swirl shade. And I am pressing quite hard into the palette. So that is what that looks like. And it is adhering to the primer very well. Hopping back in just to say, I do appreciate when brands, and Lethal does this a lot too, where you have the swirl shades, and it does add a lot of visual interest, but just keep in mind, it's just one shade. It's only going to show up as one shade, unless in Lethal Cosmetics case, it's a multi-chrome or a dual chrome. But if it's just a shimmer, such as these are just shimmers, it's only going to show up as one shade. And so Try not to think, oh, that is so pretty. I've already destroyed the design in there, and it is only one shade. And I've kind of destroyed the design in here. You only see the swirl like on the edges. So try to think of that as well when you see palettes and it's like, oh my gosh, that's gorgeous, I gotta get it. If it's a swirl or it has some type of pattern in it, just think about it's only going to show up as one shade, unless, as I said, it's a multi-chrome or a dual chrome. So try not to be taken in by just how it looks in the pan. And I'm not saying these aren't pretty, they are pretty. I'm just saying, just in general, when you look at palettes, think about what is it really going to look like. And that's why swatches are helpful, because you do get to see what the shade looks like, whether face swatches like Troll here does, or people who do swatches on their arm. We're going to take this shade here, Vumbora Plains, and that's going to go on the second half of the lid. And we are sweeping in between to blend those two together. And we're taking this up a little bit higher on the outer portion of our lid, because I have all that puffy space there to cover up. More Remy Game Reserve, this shade here. If you are into monochromatic looks, this is just a domed blending brush. If you're into monochromatic looks, this is for you. I'm going to take that up higher because I'm going to take it all the way up. This blends in so well. I want to take something else or at least something to define the actual transition area, which for me is this area right here. But it is great as a blend out shade, so that is good to know. But this is just, if you want to experiment with color, you want to experiment with green, and you don't want it to be too much, this is a very easy, simple look. Put this shade, this outer lid green down here, put on liner, maybe a brown one, mascara. This can be your look and it can be done, and it's not too much, it's very easy. If this is too much shimmer for you, bring this green further over, the matte green further over, and just maybe have the shimmer green just right here, just to try to test the waters to get into seeing how you feel about a shimmer colorful lid, particularly green. And this can be any shadow. If you have a bright shimmer purple and then like a muted purple matte shade over here, so any color to do monochromatic, you can do this look with, just to get your feet wet if you're not used to wearing color. This is very simple, and a transition shade that does blend out well, but more or less just kind of blends into your skin tone, and so you're not using a lot of color even though you have an intense pop of color. And I hope that that makes sense. We're going to take NYX retractable eyeliner in gray, and we're going to run this along our lower lash line. We're going to take a stubby eyeliner brush, smudger brush. I think it's supposed to be a crease brush, but for me it's for lower lash line, and we're going to go into Migrating Zebras. And I remember when I swatched this, it was gray, so we're actually going to swirl the brush in here, and we're going to put this on our lower lash line. We're bringing our liner up here, that shade. We're going to wipe this brush off. That look was me trying to figure out what shade I want to add to my transition area, and I think we're going to take Crash of Rhinos. I don't remember what that looked like, and so we're just pressing straight in, and we're going to tap off, and we're going to put this right here. I don't know if it's because we're layering it. I don't remember what it did in the other look I used it in, but this isn't really a shade either. I mean, it is showing up some. I can tell something's different because it's a little hint of color there, whereas the first transition shade was not a color, but I'm wanting more. And if you've been here, you know I do like dark looks, but even with looks like this one, I still want something more than that. Even though it's great, if you want to venture into color, this is a perfect look. And even putting this here to try to deepen it is still adding a little something, but it's not a lot. And I'm tempted to do more because I want more color. And more color meaning not bright, but just more depth in my transition area and in the outer corner area. And so I'm wanting to do more. I'm going to wipe that brush off again. And this is where I should just stop, because this is just a very easy, simple look. And so you know what? We're going to just stop. I want to do more. I want to do more. I do. We're keeping this one super simple. We did a lot with the first two looks, so we're going to just take it easy this time. We are going to take Midnight Snack Max Fluid Line. This is a gray. We're going to go back to Migrating Zebras, this shade here, because this is looking a little funky to me, and I'm sure you guys are like, it's fine, just leave it. So we did do our double wing thing that we've been doing. So we have the light gray under here and the dark gray liner, which I am digging, the double wing liner look. We're going to use the Lancome Source Boost mascara primer, the Stack Black mascara from MAC. We're going to use the Nima Tang Chocolate Wasted Liquid Lip Color. We are going to put on foundation. We're not going to do anything else to the face. What we got? This is what we have. Very simple, very quick. It's cute. Again, I do think it is a fantastic way to dip into color, because there's not a whole lot and the transition isn't crazy. I didn't put on, you know, 5 lid shades like I usually do, at least 4, I think. But this, I think, is a cute look. Of course, I'm loving the double wing. It's a neutral lip, goes with almost everything. Actually, it does go with everything. And so we have used every shade in this palette at this point. I'm trying to get my thoughts together. Having finished using the other shadows, I would recommend this if you do not have America's Parks, because the shimmers, it seems like almost all the shimmers in here, these 3, oh, and these 3, so they're in 2 columns. This column and this column are the shimmers. They do show up to my eye the same as America's Parks did. America's Parks is no longer available, so if you don't have that palette and you do like warm tones and some neutral tones, then yeah, I would say go ahead and get this palette. If you still have America's Parks and yours is still good, I would say don't get this, because it is similar the way the shadows show up. I do also think this would be a great companion palette to Hudson Valley, because some of the tones are the same. There's a green in there, you have like a rich red, and you compare some of these with the reds, or even this gray with the reds. Some of the green tones are similar to Hudson Valley, but they're not the same. And so I do think if you have Hudson Valley, this would be a nice companion palette to it. Hudson Valley has the 3 shimmers, this has 6, and you have, you know, other shades that you can mix in. This shade and this one right here are good for me for deepening. This I was expecting more. This I was expecting a lot more. Again, I don't know if it's because we layered it, but it just wasn't doing it for me. This is a fantastic transition shade for me, because you just see a hint of mustard. It blends out very well, and it takes away my skin tone color. So you can tell maybe that is there, but it's not like a bold, bright highlight shade. So I do like this palette. The shimmers you will get fallout from. This one gave me the most. I did get fallout using this one today, but I was swiping it versus pressing it in for the lower lash line. This shade you will get fallout from. This one too, but not as much. And it depends on your technique, and it depends on what tool you use. But I am liking this palette. I am thankful to Nomad for sending this to me. I will say it's not a need, because I don't think makeup period is a need. Chapstick, yes. You need to keep your lips moisturized. But makeup is not a need. And so you will not hear me say, or you will very seldom hear me say, you need to get this palette. So that's where I'm at with this. As I said, it is a nice palette. If these are your tones and you don't have these shades in your collection, because I do have greens and I do have, you know, these type tones up here. So as I was using it and as I look back over the pictures, I'm like, I could probably do that. If not, definitely do that look with shades I already have. Yes, it's nice having it all in one palette. So if you want to do this look or one of the other two, you have all of that in here. And you may have seen, or most likely have seen by now, other looks with this palette. So it is nice having everything in here. When you're watching videos, pay attention to the looks that you're seeing. I was talking to a friend of mine and I said, a lot of people, I think, are going to do a monochromatic green look because green pops and it stands out. And so even though that's what I did today, easy, simple look, monochromatic looks are very simple. But pay attention to the looks you see. How many different types of looks are you seeing with this palette? And let that help you determine whether or not you want it. If you just see a monochromatic, bold, green, graphic look, and you're like, oh, I need that palette for that look, think of if you have other greens in your collection. You know what I'm saying? And also think about, as I just said, how much variety are you going to get? So pay attention to the looks that you're seeing. Don't just watch one video, one look, and say, oh, I need that palette. First of all, it's not a need. And second of all, that's just one look. And so as you're looking at videos, try to think critically of, do I like this color story? Are these the tones that I like? Am I seeing looks that I would love to attempt to recreate? And also, do I have similar shades in my collection? So those are questions I want you to ask yourself as you're looking at videos and as you're looking at this palette. Again, if you don't have America's Parks, or I don't know what I was going to say. If you don't have America's Parks and you feel like you missed out on it, I think this is a good substitute for that. Again, it's different, but the shimmers to me look the same. So just the mattes are kind of different. This palette, if you're deeper than me and you like depth, you're only going to get it from this shade and this shade. The rest, these shades are not going to give you depth if you're darker than me. And for me, only these two gave me depth. So that's something to think about too. If you prefer a deeper outer corner, you're going to have to go into another palette for it. And I'm just saying that for those of you who would rather have everything in one palette to do your look. And then I know some people, they use 3 or 4 palettes to create a look. So if you're that person, then it will not bother you that you may not get the depth that you want from this palette. So these are just different things to consider. And I do hope that what I'm saying towards the end of this video is helpful to you. And again, I hope if you want to dip your toes in the color, that this type of look will inspire you. Just put a pop of shimmer on the first part of the lid and a similar tone matte shade on the rest of the lid and a flesh tone transition shade. Put liner on, and that's an easy way to try different colors. And again, it can be any look. A lavender or purple shimmer, a matte purple, and a flesh tone transition shade, super easy. A shimmer blue, a similar shade of blue and as a matte shade, and a flesh tone transition, liner and mascara, and you're done. So that can be for any color. And so I'm encouraging you to use color. For those of you who don't like to use a lot of color, it can be a lot of fun, like once you get into it. And as my motto is, just wear what you want to wear and just rock it. Just know that your makeup is bomb. If it's bomb to you, it is bomb. Don't worry about, or try not to worry about what other people may think or what they might say, because you only see what they want you to see in videos and in looks that they post. And I think I mentioned that before, because I do believe people post what they think are their best looks. You don't know what they're doing when they're home practicing. So try not to feel like your looks are not good enough, or try not to feel embarrassed or ashamed. Like, just do you, boo-boo. Because we trolls here. We wear what we want to wear and we just rock it. And y'all, if you've been here before, you are my troll kin and you know this. And so just experiment and have fun. But back to the palette. It is a nice palette. I'm glad to have it. At the same time, I'm questioning if I would have purchased it, because the looks I've done so far, which is only 3, I really feel like I could do with other palettes that I have. And so that's why I'm on the fence to say if I would purchase it or not. If I didn't have a lot of greens in my collection, if I didn't have a lot of these, you know, warmer tones, then yeah, I would be like, ooh, that Natasha Denona palette. I'm going to tell you right now, I'm getting it. My no-buy is over either June 1st or June 4th. I'm not sure. One of those two dates. But when I see that palette, I'm going to purchase it. It doesn't even have to be on sale. So that excludes my perpetual low buy, which is only sale stuff. So that'll be the 5% of stuff that I get just full price, no codes or anything. But I know right now I'm getting that palette. And it's similar vibes to this one as far as the greens and like these tones right here. It's similar to that. And so I may do a comparison. But I can tell you right now I'm getting that palette. And I don't need it. Makeup is not a need. I have, I think I was putting in captions in the first video I did to this, that some of the greens in here are very similar to Mission XXX, the Moolah Bank palette, and also when I swatched and I was looking at how these greens showed up, particularly this one and this one, it looked like shades from the 669 palette, and all three of those are Martine Cosmetics palettes. But I'm just saying, I have greens, and so I don't need the Natasha one. Makeup's not a need, but I want it, and I'm gonna tell you right now, Troll is getting it. And if I don't, I probably fell and bumped my head and have amnesia or a dementia episode or something. I don't know. But back to this palette. Those are my initial first impressions, final thoughts on this palette, and we'll see if it changes. We'll see over time as I use it if it changes, as far as me thinking, I'm not sure if I would have purchased it. I would have looked at it and thought yes, but then once I saw swatches, like if I didn't have it and I didn't try it myself, you know, looking at swatches, I might have been like, I kind of have those shades. And for the ones in here that show up dusty on me or don't show up on me much, it's like, why are you there? Like, it's nice and we made everything work, but, you know, so that's where I am with this palette. Let me know down below what your thoughts are on, you know, all of this ranting at the end. If you want to dip your toe into color, let me know what you think about how I said you can do that with something similar as this. And thank you for being here. As always, self-acceptance, self-love, that is the Crazy Troll Nation way. There's a lot of information down below. Feel free to click on stuff, find out where it goes, and just have fun. There are some affiliate links down there. My Nomad code is not affiliated, but Dion, using that code will save you 10%, and there are a lot of other people with codes, both affiliated and non-affiliated. So use someone's code to save yourself some money. I don't know what I was going to say. Thank you for being here, and you will see me in the next video.